Greetings and welcome back to Doctor Who Revisited, where I go through every single episode of Doctor Who from 1963 all the way to 2025 and review them. And now we are on to the infamous, incomplete episode Shada, the official final episode in the Tom Baker season 17, the penultimate season. And, well, there is so much to be said about this episode from both a technical standpoint, a behind the scenes standpoint, that is, and just the episode in general. First of all, it is the second episode written by Douglas Adams, which is like, it's crazy that the great, legendary Douglas Adams, who was a script editor for the show for a very long time, had only actually written 2 episodes. Like, I believe he only had this and Pirate Planet under his belt, and maybe he did some extra writing on City of Death, but for the most part, yeah, these are the only 2 episodes that he's credited with, which is crazy, but still, at least he gave us the 2 stories that he gave us. Now, as for the incomplete nature of it, full disclosure, I have watched 3 different versions of this episode. Obviously, I haven't watched the original because there ain't nothing to watch. It was never actually properly broadcast. But I did watch the 1992 sort of restoration with Tom Baker giving some narration in the parts that weren't really filmed. That was really the first time I watched this episode or experienced this episode in any kind of way. I did watch the Big Finish sort of webcast with the animation with the 8th Doctor stuff, but really the thing that really matters is the 2017 animated, partially animated version, which is the one I watched today. I believe there's a 4th complete version that was released and on the collection box sets, but I don't know if it's that much different from this 2017 version. And well, either way, I haven't seen that. So if it is different, then that's I guess another thing I have to track down now. But if not, then I have officially watched every single version there is to watch from this episode. Now, it is unfortunate that what happened with this episode happened. I don't want to get too much into the politics of what happened and the behind the scenes, because I don't really know that much. I wasn't alive back then. I don't know what could have possibly led to this episode not finishing its filming. Let's just talk about the episode itself. And the episode itself is mind-blowing. Literally and figuratively. I mean, it starts with on this big space station with a think tank of people, literally a think tank of people put in a tank to think, and then there's this guy which, like, you couldn't really tell which of the few guys in that room was really the one to focus on, because the director really does an interesting thing here, is that the camera doesn't necessarily focus on Skagra too much. I mean, you focus too much on the other scientists when we still don't even know who they are and why they're even there. And only after they all just kind of have their mental breakdown, so to speak, and Skagra gets up, you know that's the guy. He's the main villain. And then that's when you really notice that he was actually wearing a completely different suit than all the other ones. And like, okay, that is an interesting way to introduce your main villain straight off the top. And then it just goes on from there. I mean, you get to Cambridge University, which I believe a lot of the scenes in this episode were actually filmed on location in Cambridge, which is interesting. It's very exciting. We get to see once again the Doctor and Romana on a holiday, because they never get tired of doing that. Just rowing with the boats. on that little river thing. And the Dr. Ramon essentially went to visit an old friend of the Doctor, Professor Chronotis. This is one of the things that I love about Doctor Who is that they hint to us that the Doctor just has this secret life that we never really know about, that we never hear about. It's just, reference, like with the guy Wilkins, who just knows the Doctor because he keeps visiting Cambridge over and over and over again at different points in time in history. And he just, he has friends all over the universe that he just casually drops by for a visit every once in a while, including this Professor Kenotis person, which apparently was a retired Time Lord from Gallifrey, which, kind of brings up an interesting concept. So, are Time Lords allowed to just retire when they reach a certain age and, on their last regeneration? Just like they pick a random planet to stay on and then just live out the rest of their centuries? That's cool. That's an interesting factor. And I mean, they pretty much drop the hint that Chronotis was actually in Cambridge University for 300 years, and no one really noticed that he's been there that long. I suppose this concept was kind of reused for the 12th Doctor in series 10, I suppose. But yeah, it's interesting lore. It's interesting world building for Doctor Who. And then, slowly but surely, as the episode transitions from live action to animated, you get the hint that the professor actually stole, or rather borrowed, a particular book and brought it with him to Earth as a sort of trinket, a reminder of Gallifrey. But it turns out that that book actually dates back to the time of Rassilon and is imbued with special Time Lord powers that could turn out to be very dangerous. And as the plot slowly rolls around, you learn that this book literally is the key to an ancient Time Lord prison called Shada. And that's the title of the episode. Prison, apparently, used to house the most dangerous criminals that even the Time Lords did not want to bother with. Now, I suppose this is kind of going into some expanded Doctor Who universe stuff, but apparently even the Master was in Shada for a time, until the Time Lords, for whatever reason, decided to let him out so that the Doctor would have someone to fight during his exile on Earth. It's a whole thing, you can look it up, but yeah, very stupid decision on the Time Lord's part, in my opinion, if you don't mind me saying. And over the course of the episode, you get these little hints, these little nuggets of information about a character called Sally Avon, who apparently is an ancient Time Lord criminal, who the Professor does not seem to like very much. He keeps cursing his name every time it's being brought up. And, of course, in typical Doctor Who fashion, spoiler alert, the Professor is Sally Avon. I mean, if it makes sense, it probably is the case. That's how things usually go with Doctor Who. And why is he so dangerous? He could literally project his own mind and conscience into other people's heads and control them, which is a dangerous thing in and of itself. But one thing I wish we could have gotten more of is learn a little bit more about what Sally Avon actually did back in the day. Like, why is he so infamous? Why is he so dangerous that the Time Lords locked him up in a place reserved only for the worst of the worst in the universe at large? That's just my 2 cents on his character. I loved the performance given to this character by the actor who played the Professor. I think he does a really good job balancing the aged, forgetful Professor and the more serious and calculating villainous character of Sally Avon. I love the shift in his character from when he allegedly dies, which kind of, again, begs the question, when Time Lords are on their last regeneration and they just die, they just fade away? like Master Yoda in Return of the Jedi or something like that? Do they just disappear? Again, I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about, but I love the shift in his performance from when he played the Professor and when he played whatever the hell that other version of the Professor was. It's like I'm assuming that because Claire, I think her name, the name of the character is, she touched something on the TARDIS console, his TARDIS console, which is a very old TARDIS, and I love how the way they really made the technology look very old compared to the Doctor's TARDIS. That's a nice touch, by the way. But I think, but is it because what she did kind of brought a piece of his consciousness back? Is did Sally Avon himself do something with the whole projecting part of his mind and putting part of it in the TARDIS? I don't know. It's a very interesting thing. I don't think that the episode properly explains how he was able to survive. At least not that I remember. But I guess the TARDIS was his Horcrux in a way. So yeah, I love the shift in performance between the two versions of the Professor. Uh, but a thing that I think really needs to be talked about even more is Skagra's plan. It's like he wasn't trying to accumulate knowledge from the best minds in the universe, including the Doctor, including the Professor, to become the smartest person in the universe. He was planning to become the universe, absorb every single mind in the universe into one collective hive mind that he could control and just, exist everywhere at all time. That's mind blowing in the literal sense of the word. I think it's incredible. Probably the most out there supervillain plot of all time in any franchise ever, and something that could only come from the mind of Douglas Adams of all people. So yeah, good on him for that. It's clearly very ambitious, and he almost makes it. And of course, the Doctor stops him eventually, but like such a great villain plan. I love that idea. I mean, as crazy as it is, I mean, I guess the crazier it is, the more I like it, in a way. Now, I will say that the spheres are kind of stupid. They're kind of ridiculous. I mean, just a floating ball that flies around and attaches itself to people's heads, absorbing their knowledge, whatever the hell it does. Yeah, it's kind of stupid. It's kind of ridiculous. It was kind of funny seeing the Professor struggle with the thing attached to his head, and other characters also with the thing attached to their heads. But like, as ridiculous as that was, Skagra has an invisible ship that talks. An invisible ship with a sentient AI that can think for itself, that the Doctor manages to convince he's dead. I think the ship was done great. Sadly, unfortunately, all the scenes taking place inside the ship, minus the little containment cell where the Doctor's friends were kept, and by the end Skagra as well. Yeah, they didn't get to film it, so all of that was animated, which it is what it is. I mean, it's great that he at least got to do something before the episode, but I think I would have liked to have seen some of the stuff in live action. And sometimes the shift from live action to animation works perfectly, and sometimes it doesn't. It's a little jarring to keep having to jump from one to the other without too much connectivity. But again, it is what it is. At least they got the episode out. That's really the important part of it. So yeah, I loved the Doctor's reasoning with the ship. Loved the shape of the ship. And first of all, I love that scene where the Doctor just walks straight into the ship and just yells at K9, "Why didn't you tell me?" And K9 was like, "I thought you could see it." Like, well, what do you want from me? So that was really fun. really a good showing for K9 in this episode. K9 really does a lot of the heavy lifting in this episode. Does a lot of the action, which is great. And of course, a lot of that, most of that action is in the animated segments of the episode. I love K9's interaction with Chris Parsons in that containment cell with the whole insufficient data. That's one of my favorite things that K9 says. One of my favorite K9 lines. I mean, obviously, when you think of K9, you immediately think of affirmative, master. But yeah, Loki, one of my favorite lines from K9 is insufficient data. Yeah, so yeah, I love it whenever K9 gets a chance to use that line. Thankfully, by the time of next season, we're going back to the usual voice of John Leeson. Nothing against David Brierly. It's just, it's not K9 to me. So yeah, it's very unfortunate that he left, but very fortunate that he came back. Which kind of begs the question for the animated segments of the episode when they reconstructed it, and they had Tom Baker, and I believe they also brought Lala Ward to voice her Romana as well in the episode. Why didn't they bring back John Leeson in the episode to voice K9? I mean, they couldn't use David Brierly because he was already dead by that point. But I mean, you have the voice of K9. Why not use them? I don't get it. But yeah, and I think the voice lines that they actually gave K9 in the animated part of the episode is pretty lackluster. I don't even know if it's someone just used new lines or if they reused lines that they recorded for K9 in the original episode that never actually went to film. I don't know what they did there, but I was not a fan of the voice of K9 during the animated segments of the episode. But it is what it is. Moving back to Romana for a bit, I mean, it is kind of ridiculous how she keeps getting herself captured by the main villain, but I will say this, I really loved the fact that even though she was a hostage by Skagra, she never really let him get to her. Like, she was unimpressed by him, completely unamused, as Romana usually does, and I love that aspect of Romana. It's just like, yeah, fine, do what you want. I mean, she's not bothered by it. But it is kind of stupid and ridiculous that she kind of gave him away the secret of how to use the book. You'd think Romana would know better, but then again, I don't know that Romana actually knew what she was saying when she said about time. I don't know that she would have thought that Skagra would have picked up on that. Maybe. I don't know. As for the Krogs, I think they look completely ridiculous, and that's great. I love the way the Krogs look, both in the animated version and in the live action version. So it's really great to see these giant lumbering pieces of whatever just walking around trying to fight off the Doctor and K9. Yeah, Skagra is a character I think could come back at some point. I mean, from the way the episode ended and how they left him off, it kind of looks like he's one of those characters that is really going to carry a grudge against the Doctor and is going to try to come back. And and the very end of the episode, especially in the 2017 version where they use the actual contemporary Tom Baker in full costume, explaining where Skagra came from. I mean, he mentions that he was from a rival Time Lord Academy on a different planet. So does that also kind of make him a Time Lord? Can he also regenerate and possibly come back as another actor? Maybe. I'm still holding out hope for this guy. I mean, such a crazy plan is something that's too good not to be reused, especially in the modern series, and especially considering how the modern series is really being very selective of which Gallifreyan characters they bring back. But again, who knows? Who knows? The Doctor was really funny in the episode. I love that. I love the parts where he just was trying to read the book and trying to pretend to be stupid just to be just so that the sphere wouldn't kill him.
I'm paraphrasing, of course.
Doctor?
No, this you'd like this bit. This is a good bit. Skagra, do you realize this book doesn't make one bit of sense?
A fool would realize it was written in code.
Skagra,
What?
this thing is written in code. How am I doing?
Loved that bit of strategy from the Doctor. I mean, I love that. This is one thing I love about this. The Fourth Doctor is like he's being deceptively clever by also being incredibly funny and comedic. It's a perfect balance that I think the Fourth Doctor does better than all the other Doctors. And yeah, it's on full display in this episode. But yeah, it's a very fun episode. It's a crying shame that it was never really produced properly because of things that are out of any of us' control. But again, at least we got what we got, and I think the final finished product is pretty good, to say the least. So yeah, I really enjoyed the episode. This is also the final episode with that traditional 1970s Doctor Who opening title sequence. We're getting a brand new one in the next season, which of course will be Tom Baker's last season. But yeah, that is all in the future as far as I'm concerned. So let me just wrap this up so I can go on and watch the next episode, which I cannot wait for. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about this episode. Let me know which versions of the episode you have seen, and also drop a comment and let me know if the 2021 version on the collection box set is any different from the 2017 version, because I'm actually very curious to know that. That being said, thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hello again. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and leave a comment. See you next time.